So we're here at the London March for Palestine, the march that's marking 1 year since Israel's war on Gaza and now on Lebanon began. So we're here to speak to some of the people protesting, to see why they're protesting 1 year on. So who are we here with today?
Aya,
And where are you from, Aya?
Palestinian.
Okay, so Aya, what has the past year been like for Palestinians?
I'd say nothing short of horrific. It's been really horrible witnessing the crimes of Israel in Gaza. It's been really difficult as a mother of children myself, seeing, beheaded children torn to pieces. It's been really difficult. I really don't know what to say beyond that.
Okay, and 1 year on, we're still seeing a very huge march. How does that feel, and what do you think it signifies?
Look, it's incredible. For me, I get goosebumps every time I show up to a protest, seeing the amount of support that we're receiving as Palestinians, but also now for Lebanon as well. I would say this looks like the biggest march I've been to so far. They're saying 300,000, but it feels like so much more. But it's really incredible to feel that support, and it's radiating through the streets of London. And look behind you, it's really heartfelt. And this is what we need to do. We need to stand up for Palestine, and we need to not tire out.
Okay, ultimately, what would you say are the main takeaways from this year?
I think that Israel has no intention to stop this genocide, and I feel that the support it's getting from the West, the US and America and the UK it's also not going to stop. But I think the one thing we have learned is that this is the US and Israel's genocide against Gaza and now Lebanon.
As a Palestinian, what have you felt this past year, and what message do you have?
To be honest, I've got one message and one message only. It's kind of deep, so I'm going to try and make it as brief as possible. However, this past year has definitely shown the world the truth behind a lot of misconceptions that the world has had for a very long time, not only about Palestinians, unfortunately to say, but about Muslims in general and the Middle East, to be specific. That those people are barbaric and backdated, and they are always causing terror and harm to the world. However, as we know, there is good and bad everywhere. This year has definitely taught the world, firstly, who the real terrorists are, and secondly, that the world must come together and rise up against these tyrannical powers, which which governments they are and which governments are behind them. To be honest, they've shown the world that the sinister things that they will do to achieve what they want, and that human life clearly doesn't matter, and human rights and equality doesn't exist in this world the way we thought it did. They painted our men as terrorists, for some of them for simply just wanting their basic human rights, and they done unspeakable things to our civilian population, our women, our elderly, our children. And it's time for us to say, how much longer are we going to let this happen? How much more are we going to take before we stand together and rise up?
So what brings you to these protests, particularly 1 year into what Israel's been doing in Gaza and now in Lebanon and across Palestine as well?
Yeah, so this is my first protest. I wanted to come many times, but just never really happened. But I would say it's quite personal to me, because when the attacks on the 7th happened, I kind of taken the side of Israel at that time, because again, I don't think I knew so much in depth how Palestinian people were oppressed and all of that. So, and in 2013 or 14, I actually visited Israel myself, because I do have Russian Jewish ancestry. And so I guess I grew up in with a very Zionist ideology. So in my family we always idolized Israel and stuff. So it was always kind of we never spoken about the oppression of Palestinians and their actual real history. So I would say only after the attacks I started doing more research into it. Because obviously living in the UK, and I'm not a religious Jew or anything like that, so I never really done enough research beforehand. So obviously a year on now I know a lot more, and I totally understand that this is a colonial state and what they actually done to Palestinian people. I learned a lot what's happening in West Bank. People are living behind like barbed wire and stuff. I had no idea. Obviously, visiting Israel as a tourist, I only saw good sides. You know, I just saw like, oh, okay, like Jews and Arabs are living in peace. So that's what I thought. I didn't see the, you know, the reality behind the scenes. So now we can see West Bank, and now we see Lebanon. It's obviously not self-defense, as you know, Israel keeps attacking all the Middle Eastern countries, and the goal is pretty clear. Yeah.
What would you say the goal is?
I think just to take over. It's a land grab, and it's to be like hold that like dominant power in the Middle East.